Hello to everyone across the Celtic support, wherever you are tuning in from today, because the mood around the club feels slightly different this week. And not just because Christmas is almost here. There is a sense of pause, a rare moment to breathe, reflect, and reset. Something that does not come around often in the Scottish football calendar. With the victory over Aberdeen now in the rearview mirror, and the next match away to Livingston still a few days off, the squad finds itself in an unusual stretch of time without the relentless pressure of matchday preparation. It is a strange feeling for players and supporters alike, but also one that could quietly prove important as the season edges toward a decisive phase. This short break, shaped by the festive period, has allowed the players to spend more time at Lennoxtown, focusing on the finer details that can sometimes be rushed when games come thick and fast. Training sessions have reportedly been intense but balanced, with room not only for tactical work and conditioning, but also for recovery and family time. In a season where physical and mental freshness can make all the difference, that balance matters. The gap of 6 days between the win against Aberdeen and the upcoming trip to Livingston might not sound like much, but in football terms, it can be gold dust, especially for a manager still embedding his ideas into the squad. There is a growing sense that this extra time on the training ground is being used wisely. The manager has spoken openly about his approach, and it paints the picture of someone meticulous, patient, and deeply invested in detail. He is not the type to simply glance over a performance and move on. Instead, matches are revisited almost immediately, paused, rewound, and examined piece by piece. It can take hours, but that process allows him to isolate moments that define games, whether positive or negative, rather than overwhelming players with words. He prefers to show them exactly what he means, letting images and sequences speak louder than long speeches. That method has already been visible in small ways since his arrival. The use of visual tools, the emphasis on positioning and timing, and the calm insistence on learning from mistakes rather than hiding from them have all stood out. From his perspective, the challenges faced by the squad were always going to be part of the journey. He stepped into a dressing room that had been winning, then suddenly experienced defeat, all while adjusting to a new methodology and new expectations. That kind of transition is rarely smooth, and acknowledging that reality has been central to his message. What stands out most is the honesty in how performances are assessed. Players are shown not only where things went wrong, but also where they were strong, where the foundations already exist. After recent matches, the focus has not been on panic or blame, but on identifying key moments that swung games, set pieces, lapses in concentration, and brief spells where intensity dropped have all been highlighted as areas that can decide outcomes in the Scottish Premiership. The idea is simple, but demanding: to be fully switched on for the full 90 minutes every single week. That mindset was evident in the reaction to the defeat that came earlier in the season, where a short spell proved costly. Rather than dismissing the overall performance, the emphasis was placed on those critical minutes and what could have been done differently. It is an approach that asks players to take responsibility without stripping them of confidence. And confidence, despite the noise around results, seems to be something the manager carries in abundance. He has consistently spoken with belief, even when the external mood has been more skeptical. For some supporters, that confidence initially felt at odds with what they were seeing on the pitch. Positive words can ring hollow if performances do not back them up, but gradually signs have begun to appear that the ideas are translating into action. The display against Aberdeen was one of those moments where the crowd responded not just to the result, but to the way the team played. Energy, aggression, and intent were visible, and that connection between players and supporters is crucial. When Celtic Park senses progress, even in imperfect form, it has a way of lifting everyone involved. Now, attention turns to Livingston, and there is no disguising the importance of that fixture. These are the games that define momentum. A strong performance, ideally combined with a convincing win, can set the tone heading into a run of even bigger matches. Away grounds in Scotland are never straightforward, especially against sides fighting their own battles. But Celtic know that standards have to be maintained regardless of venue. Consistency has been the challenge, and this is another chance to show that lessons are being learned. Beyond the men's first team, there have also been significant developments elsewhere at the club. The women's side has seen a change at the top with a managerial departure that closes an important chapter. The achievements during that period should not be understated, including historic league success and stepping onto the European stage against some of the biggest names in the game. At the same time, league form has been uneven, and change was always a possibility. The appointment of a new manager with proven success in Scotland brings a sense of renewed direction and hope that stability and ambition can align once again. There is a feeling that the women's team, much like the men's, has faced challenges around squad depth and continuity, losing key figures without always replacing them. But a fresh voice and a clear plan could be exactly what is needed to push forward and reassert dominance domestically. Celtic have set high standards across the club in recent years, and the expectation is always to compete, to grow, and to win. Off the pitch, logistical details have also begun to shape the weeks ahead, particularly with ticket allocations for upcoming cup fixtures. Strong travelling support is nothing new for Celtic, and once again, thousands will make the journey, turning away grounds into seas of green and white. The backing brings responsibility as well as expectation. With numbers like that behind the team, there can be no excuses on match day, only a demand for performance that matches the scale of support. Broadcast selections have also been confirmed for a number of league matches, subtly altering routines for players and fans alike. Kickoff times continue to shift, with fewer early slots and more afternoon and evening games becoming the norm. It is a change that affects everything from travel plans to preparation, but it is one the squad must adapt to quickly. Though modern football leaves little room for comfort zones, and flexibility has become part of the job. As the festive period approaches and the calendar begins to fill once again, the sense around Celtic is one of cautious optimism. There is work to be done, no doubt about that, but there are also signs of a team beginning to understand itself better, guided by a manager determined to build something sustainable rather than chase quick fixes. The coming weeks will test that vision, starting with the next challenge on the road, where focus, intensity, and belief will once again be put under the microscope. As the schedule tightens and the festive glow begins to fade into the reality of winter football, the conversation around Celtic naturally shifts toward rhythm and resilience. This is the time of year when squads are tested not only by opponents, but by fatigue, expectation, and the sheer mental strain of knowing that every drop point is magnified. Within the camp, there is an awareness that progress cannot be measured only by isolated performances, but by how standards are upheld week after week, especially when conditions are far from ideal and margins are tight. Training during this period takes on a different character. Sessions are sharper, more purposeful, with a clear emphasis on execution under pressure. There is less room for repetition without intent and more demand for clarity in movement and decision-making. The message filtering through is that understanding the system is no longer enough on its own. It must be applied instinctively without hesitation, particularly in moments when games threaten to slip. That is where recent lessons have been drawn from moments when control was lost briefly and opponents were allowed back into contests. One of the underlying themes emerging is accountability across the pitch. From the defensive line to the forward areas, players are being challenged to recognize their roles, not just in possession, but in the seconds immediately after losing the ball. Transitions have been a focal point, especially in a league where many sides are set up to capitalize quickly on any lapse. There is a recognition that dominance means very little if it is not protected by concentration and collective effort, particularly late in matches when legs grow heavy. Confidence, however, remains a central pillar of the approach. The manager's belief in the group, it is not performative. It is rooted in what he sees daily on the training ground. He speaks of patterns improving, of understanding deepening, and of players beginning to anticipate each other's movements rather than reacting late. That sort of cohesion does not appear overnight, but when it does, it can transform a team's identity. Supporters caught glimpses of that fluency recently, passages of play where the ball moved with purpose and tempo, drawing audible appreciation from the stands. The relationship between the team and the support has always been a defining element of Celtic. When belief flows both ways, the atmosphere becomes a weapon. Players feed off it, take risks, push higher, press harder. There is a sense that the connection is rebuilding, fueled by effort as much as results. Even in moments of frustration, the response from the stands has reflected an understanding that something is being shaped, that the direction is forward, even if the road is uneven. Looking ahead, the run of fixtures demands maturity as much as quality. Away matches, in particular, carry their own challenges with pitches, conditions, and home crowds, all designed to disrupt rhythm. Celtic's task is to impose themselves regardless, to show control when chaos is offered. That requires leaders on the pitch, voices that steady the tempo, players willing to take responsibility when momentum threatens to swing. These are the matches where character is revealed, often quietly without headlines. Squad rotation is also likely to become more prominent as the weeks roll on. Managing minutes without losing sharpness is a delicate balance, especially when every competition carries expectation. Fringe players know opportunities will come, and the demand placed on them is clear to step in seamlessly and maintain the level. Training standards ensure that nobody drifts too far from match readiness, and internal competition is encouraged rather than feared. Beyond the immediate matchday focus, there is an awareness of the broader picture, of where the team wants to be by the turn of the year and beyond. Targets are not spoken loudly, but they exist. Performances are being built with future tests in mind, games where composure and tactical discipline will be scrutinized even more intensely. The idea is to arrive at those moments prepared, not scrambling for solutions. Meanwhile, attention across the club continues to stretch beyond the first team alone. Structural decisions, staff changes, and long-term planning all play their part in shaping stability. Success at Celtic has always been about more than 11 players on a Saturday. It is about alignment, clarity, and ambition across every level. When those elements pull in the same direction, progress tends to follow. Supporters, as ever, remain deeply invested in every development. Discussions fill pubs, group chats, and social feeds, dissecting selections, debating systems, and projecting outcomes. It is part of the culture, part of what makes following Celtic such an all-consuming experience. That scrutiny can be unforgiving, but it also reflects care, a relentless desire to see the club thrive as the next set of fixtures looms. The challenge is to turn promising signs into something tangible, to back belief with consistency. The opportunity is there, not handed out, but earned through discipline, intensity, and unity. Each match becomes another step in defining what this Celtic side stands for, how it responds under pressure, and how far it can go when conviction meets execution. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers around Lennoxtown have grown louder, and the word doing the rounds is that Celtic boss Wilfried NANCY has drawn a hard line that few expected to see so soon. According to sources close to the dressing room, a first-choice starter has been pushed to the fringes after what's being described as an act of indiscipline that simply didn't sit right with the manager. Officially, there's been no confirmation, but the mood suggests this wasn't a routine rotation call. NANCY, who arrived with a reputation for modern ideas and strict standards, is said to have made it clear from day one that reputation alone would win no favors. The rumor is that the player involved challenged internal rules, whether through a late arrival, a training ground disagreement, or an attitude that clashed with the collective. Whatever the spark, the response appears uncompromising. In private conversations, the manager is believed to have stressed that the badge comes first and that discipline underpins everything he wants to build at Parkhead. Those close to the squad say the decision has sent a ripple through the changing room. Some view it as a necessary show of authority, a reminder that no one is bigger than the cause. Others wonder if it risks unsettling a side already under scrutiny. Yet there's also a sense that NANCY is laying down a marker, signaling that standards will be enforced regardless of status or past contributions. Supporters, meanwhile, are split. A section of the fan base applauds the steel in the manager's stance, seeing echoes of old-school Celtic values where commitment and respect were non-negotiable. Others fear that sidelining a key figure could spark unnecessary drama. For now, it remains speculation, but one thing seems certain. Wilfried NANCY is nay the type to forgive lightly, and Celtic's hierarchy will be watching closely to see whether this firm approach strengthens the squad or fans the flames of unrest. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.